I'm so lucky to get Tara back. Like the last time we talked about how to choose a puppy, and I think we're going to go a little bit more into that just because you're picking up a puppy and two puppies. I am, yeah, we're going to discuss a little bit more about like training your own service dog, which I am still convinced I should have probably listened to, and I'm still really glad I didn't. But I don't know if he's ever going to be a total service dog. I just don't know if I have it in me. But we'll talk a little bit more about it. I want to hear about what you
So
are
much
doing.
time to get him there.
The only reason we've gotten even as close as we have is because of your advice. I just like 5 months old, and I don't think babies are supposed to be like 60 pounds, but that beast put on a pound a day.
Last I weighed him is, I think, 76 pounds, and Nacho, I just weighed him at 71.
I'm so scared. Because his dad's only 65 pounds. I'm like, dude, what are you? Because I got the little, like, I have an English Labrador. And so it's like my first time getting a, like, AKC, like, I did the temperament test you had. And the only thing I could say is that doing that meant that I got the easiest training I've ever had with a puppy. Like, and I'm exhausted.
I
can't.
bad news for you.
Yeah.
I have some bad news for you.
No,
Mentally prepare yourself. If he's 5 months old, you're about to hit teenage stage.
I just did that with my kids.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
It's coming.
Before we talk about you picking up your dogs, tell me what teenage phase looks like for a puppy and what someone who is in the middle of trying to train their puppy for service should be doing, because you gave me the best advice for the baby stuff. And I am heartbroken I didn't know this with my other dogs, because I feel like I was super mean to them just because I felt like I was supposed to be in control. And I felt like if they were doing something wrong, I failed them, I failed me, and it just spiraled. And with your advice on like, it's not that serious, deep breath, and then just reset meant that I'm so much nicer to him. He's so much happier. He's very confident. And even though we're not at 100%, we're at 80%, which my dog's never got to before. Like he's at 80%. He still likes being naughty though. Like he loves
he's still
grabbing something. Yeah, because like his favorite thing in the world is he grabs my bra or something else and he prances through the house like he is just and he wants me to chase him, which I've learned, thank you to you, I don't do. But nothing makes him happier or more zoomy than I got the thing I'm not supposed to. Is that the teenage stuff I'm watching out for?
So the 6 to 9 months time period, I would be on the lookout for a fear period. So if he starts getting spooky about stuff.
Yes, is that something that, because he went from like, so like, what?
Yep. So as they're growing, as they're developing, as their hormones are hitting, after sometime after like 4 to 5 months, that you start to see some more fear stuff pop up. Like you'll see it when they're super young. That's why you do all the socialization stuff, is to show them everything. And it's normal for them to be kind of like spooky about new stuff because they've literally never seen it before. Now we're kind of redoing some of that because as we grow, our brain is like reorganizing stuff and reconfiguring. So then we see things, but we're seeing them from a different perspective. So now that's new and spooky again. Yep. And then depending on your dog, you'll have more or less of that. So like Taco, he barely had any fear periods. He was super confident dude. And it wasn't until closer to like 11 months old that he started having a couple of like, I'm going to bark at men at night sometimes, or people walking down a hallway, or random mannequins. Not the first 3 we pass by in the store, but like the 5th one we see. That one specifically. So like little things like that.
He knows the evil mannequin. He's got that.
Right. But for the most part, you didn't see very much of it. It was just a little bit here and there. And then he was good. Nacho, on the other hand, he's a sensitive dude. He's a sensitive guy.
Contact needed.
He has had a fear period from hell from like 6 months on and on. And it is just a fear period, because if it was true anxiety, it wouldn't get better, or it wouldn't get better as drastically as it has, right? So if you have a dog that is truly anxious, when you see them go through these fear period things, it's going to remain, and it's going to remain with everything. With Nacho, what I'm seeing is very intense fear. Like, he wouldn't walk upstairs. We hit 6 months old, and he refused to walk upstairs for about a month because we went to a parking garage and we walked up the echoey parking garage stairs, and that was horrifying. And by the end of that outing, we never wanted to see stairs again. So we worked on stairs, took about a month, and now stairs are fine. Perfectly fine.
I mean,
We love
what
stairs.
what the work looks like. Like, how do you help a dog who's feeling anxious
So
be in a situation?
if you can kind of avoid it for a little while, that's okay. For like a fear period stuff, sometimes avoiding it is the easiest way to get over it. Because what happens with that fear period is it's something in their brain is going on as they're growing and developing. Novel stimulus can be kind of spooky, can be kind of weird. Sometimes if you just avoid it for a minute, like a week, a day, 2 weeks, then you go back and reapproach it, their brain's reconfigured enough that they're like, oh, I don't know, I was scared of that. That's fine. That's Taco. That's how Taco went. One day we were scared of it, the next day we weren't, and we're good. More sensitive guys like Nacho, it takes a little bit more effort. So I would purposefully seek out some stairs to work on once a week. You don't want to overdo it because you can unintentionally reinforce the idea that they should be scared of it. So you're working on desensitization. And if you do desensitization work for too long or too intensely, you actually sensitize them. And that's what you want to avoid with this. So if you have a dog that's a little more sensitive to things and they're going through a fear period, it's good to practice it maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, go to the thing if you can avoid it entirely. Still, like, go and visit the spooky thing once a week or so and work on confidence building stuff in other places and just let them be a dog. Let them be goofy, let them be silly. So we went to a place that had some stairs because I don't really have stairs at my house right now. I have stairs in my house, but I can't be in my house yet. It's under construction. So we don't really have stairs at home. So he got to avoid all stairs while we were at home. But I would go to it's like a local shopping center, like outdoor strip mall type thing, but like more of like a town, I don't know, not like a strip mall with like a giant parking lot in the middle. It has like grass and stuff. It's pretty. It's like a fancy strip mall.
Bougie.
Bougie, yes. And they have a big staircase going up to the movie theater up at the top. So we went and we just played near the stairs. We were playing, we were goofing around, we were doing some stuff. And then, like I walked up a staircase or two, like a stair step or two, and then walked down and we played around it. And it was just building positive associations being near them without like going to it. And then I would like start to walk up the stairs and he would kind of follow me. And then I'd run down the stairs and throw some food off of the stairs. So you don't want to put food on the scary thing because that will make it more scary potentially. You set up like a mousetrap scenario where if the dog really wants the food, like most labs do, they'll come in, they'll come to the food. And then once they eat the food, then they're stuck in the mousetrap because they're on or near the scary thing that they were terrified of. And then their reason for being there is gone. So that can sensitize them as opposed to desensitizing them. But if you kind of like use your social play, so like I go up the stairs, he's going to want to kind of follow me. And he sees that I'm not getting hurt by the stairs. And then if he puts like a foot or two on the stairs, we can go, yes, good job, and run down the stairs. And you can eat some food away from the stairs.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So we did that until we could like go all the way up and down the stairs. And then he started running towards stairs. He just wanted to play on the stairs.
So, of course.
Which is good. That's what you want. And that is also a sign that it was just a fear period as opposed to like true anxiety. Because even though it took a couple of weeks to get him over his fear, once he was over it, he was over it. And he has not had an issue with stairs since. If it was true anxiety, you would see that spookiness pop up in new locations. So like any new staircase you go to, you would see it pop up again. And like during that fear period, when he was still kind of spooky about stairs, that was happening when we go to new places. But once he was comfortable with the stairs, like one day he woke up, we approached the staircase, he had no spookiness, which he hadn't had for like 2 to 3 weeks at the time. He just walked up the stairs and came back down, And then every new place we went with stairs after that, he was perfectly fine. Like, so, but during it, any new staircase we went to was kind of spooky scary. So anything like the fear period stuff will go away. The anxiety, like true anxiety, won't. It'll get better, but it won't necessarily go away. And then he decided shopping carts were scary. After we figured out stairs, we were like, shopping carts, no, can't do them. Horrifying. Like, we walked into the store, he was doing fine. We got like one aisle over at a pet store, and then he was like, nope, can't do it. The shopping cart's gonna eat me. Can't do it. And then like 2 weeks later, we're good. We have shopping carts, no problem. No big deal. So his periods are much more intense. And like I considered washing him through a lot of this because it was that intense. But because he continuously overcomes it, and once he overcomes it, he moves past it, we're still moving forward with training.
Let me ask you a follow-up question then, because this is something I've seen so often with people's service dogs, incredibly well-trained service dogs, and then they're out in the world and someone brings their emotional support dog who is not trained, no recall, and they hurt the dog or they traumatize their service dog, and now their service dog is terrified. How do you help a dog de-traumatize? Is there a way to
So
de-traumatize a dog?
it depends on the dog, unfortunately. Some dogs are able to overcome that. Some dogs are not. The way you would do it is you would seek out a behavior trainer. So like me, but not for my service dog services, but for my behavior mod services. And you treat it like reactivity because it is it can kind of become reactivity. The sooner you manage it, the better. So like if you have a dog that comes like is out there and attacks your dog and it spooks your dog, whether it spooks your dog or not, it's really good within the next day or two to try to find some safe social dogs to go practice around. So like a friend with another service dog or a friend with a pet dog that's fairly neutral or friendly. And just practice being around other dogs that are safe and show them that they can still be safe. I wouldn't do it like the same day. I would give them some time to decompress, but I also wouldn't wait more than like 3 days at most because you don't want it to like get stuck as the last thing they remember is dogs were scary. All right, Taco. And if it was something fairly minor, like the dog maybe ran at them and barked at them and got really close but didn't make contact, then the like working around some safe dogs should be fine. And I would pull them from public access for about 2 to 3 weeks to see so that you don't like come across another dog in a non-pet friendly space and then have your dog start having like wild, crazy reactions. Because you want to make sure that you're not putting them in a situation where they're not going to feel safe, but you also want to make sure that you're not putting them in a situation where they're going to potentially hurt another service dog. Because if they see another service dog and they are still feeling really like traumatized by what happened, they might then do the same thing to that service dog, and then it's like a snowball effect, right? So pull them from public access. Don't go to any non-pet friendly spaces, but do try to work around other dogs as much as you can. And that for something that's not super traumatic, but that spooks them, that should be enough to get them back on track. And then once you can be around other dogs and they're behaving like they were prior to the attack, then you're good to go. And for a service dog with the appropriate temperament, they should be able to handle something like that and overcome it. Now, a dog like Nacho, if something like that happened to him, I don't know if he would. Like, because he's just very sensitive. But it also, like, it's going to be very, like, dog dependent, too. Now, if your dog gets attacked and there's, like, injuries from it, that's going to be a much longer process. Or if it's a dog like Nacho and they're just more sensitive, it might just take them longer to overcome it because they're just more sensitive. So you could be looking at several months of not being able to use your service dog while you're working through the training process. And it's a reactivity desensitization training process. Just getting out, being around dogs, and showing your dog that they can be safe and they can still work around without worry or fear.
So frustrating when you think about people being so blasé about this, and that's removing something that's so important for someone, and then putting the onus of that level of work on a sick person. Like that's like what my big fear right now is like, oh my gosh, what if something attacks Stefan and like I'm barely with the energy to like get him to do the basic stuff. Like I cannot imagine putting this much time into training.
So I will say it is not as common as the internet makes it out to be. Because if you're online, especially if you're in like service dog spaces, there's a lot of people that post stuff online. I call them the service dog police. Like they go around and they're always with their phone, like, "Did you get a dog in public?" And like you're gonna get attacked every time you walk outside with your service dog. I've been working my service dog Drac for 5.5 years now, and I'm out every day with dogs in public for my job. And I've been doing that for 7 years. And I've only had dogs actually like come at us in that way, maybe, I don't know, like 4 times in that amount of time. And none of them have actually gotten close enough to be a problem, right? So I've
I feel
never
like you live
actually
in
had
an
a
area
dog.
more common sense. Like the
Oh
where
God,
where
no. Oh God,
like
no.
I live in a place where like I've had dogs my entire life. I've never had a service dog. I had dogs my whole life. And where I live now, we've had nonstop issues and interactions with people who do not leash their dogs. They do not train their dogs. I had my
Some of
pug
it,
almost ripped out of my arms. Like it is I don't know what's going on in
yikes.
my neighborhood, but wow, I've never seen anything like this.
So some of it is location specific, because I also live kind of rurally. So if I go into town, that's when I'm more likely to encounter it. I don't have to walk around a neighborhood. But also some of it is as the human knowing how to manage those situations. So like I will run into dogs that should not be in non-pet friendly spaces at least once a week. Like
Yeah.
just last night, I was in the grocery store with Nacho. You can't eat that, thank you. I was in the grocery store with Nacho, and there was this little dog in the shopping cart where they're not supposed to be, with a service dog vest on. And the second that dog saw Nacho from opposite ends of the aisle, I could tell already if we got any closer, he was going to lose it. And sure enough, when we walked out of the grocery store, that dog was already in their car, and I couldn't see it because it was in the car. But as we were walking past the car, we got closer, and the dog absolutely lost it. So as the human, you need to be on the lookout for stuff like that. So like when I encounter a dog in a store, I keep my distance. Even if it's a dog that looks perfectly well behaved and perfectly well trained, I've seen too much, I know too much. I'm going to go the next aisle over, and I'll wait to go pick up whatever I needed from that aisle until you're gone. Because it's just not worth the risk. So having your own dog sense and being aware of the dogs around you and not getting too close to them will mitigate most of those problems.
In a bar. Like it feels like a woman in a bar rules. Like if it feels icky, just hand over drink, run.
Or honestly, like I tell my clients, if you see a dog in public, just go to the next aisle. Just don't even if they look fine, don't trust it. Because as a trainer, I can see when the dog's going to be safe versus when they're not going to be safe for the most part from far away. As somebody whose only dog experience is their own service dog, they're not as likely to pick up on that as somebody who works with behavior modification on a regular basis. And I work with the dogs that are like those problem dogs. So I can see the more subtle signs that other people may miss. So I just tell clients as a blanket statement, if you see another dog, just go somewhere else. Walk away. It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
But it's better than having your dog maybe get attacked and then having the inconvenience of potentially losing your service dog entirely. Because some dogs never overcome it, even if you do all the right training. So,
on to a more cheerful topic.
yeah.
Once you have your dog, okay, let me do this in two parts. What are the training behaviors that you think someone should have their dog mastered before they start on service training? And what are some of the first things that you would teach for service training?
So you kind of do everything all at once. So when they're younger, my main focus is on socialization because I want a very confident dog, and the priority needs to be confidence out wherever we are over anything else. No, Taco, don't go over now.
Feels like his taco looks exactly like my Stefan, like exactly.
So I will work on things like the basic obedience, and I will introduce some stuff early on. So like things like targeting, teaching a hand target or like a target stick. Those are all foundational skills to teach a lot of the tasks down the road. So that's something you can introduce when they're babies. And you can show them some like mobility stuff. You can show them how to stand in the right ways. You can show, like, teach it as a training trick, like a for fun thing, and they're babies. Yeah. Like I will do, and once we're in public, I will do that if they're feeling confident. And once I know that they've actually explored the area and seen the area, because the priority needs to be on the socialization side. As they get older, I start to do more of that stuff with them out in public as they're ready. So every dog's gonna be a little different with that. So granted, Taco, I'm not training a lot of tasks with because he's going through a guide dog program. And so he's going to go learn all his task training at the guide dog school in like a month. He's leaving soon, which is sad. But if I was teaching him the task work, I could have started teaching him and having him practice some of that stuff when he was between like 7 to 10 months old. I could have started introducing that because he was great. Nacho, on the other hand, we're just starting. Like yesterday, we just practiced some of his task stuff in public for the first time, and he's 15 months, 14, 15 months now. So, but because for him, he was so sensitive, he was having all of those fear period issues. The priority had to be getting him over that before, because it would just be a waste of time if he ended up not being able to overcome that fear stuff. It's just a waste of time to train all the service work stuff, because if he can't be a service dog, why would I teach him all of this stuff to do in public? And in a lot of places in public, he was so worried about whatever it was that we were working on. Getting him to focus on doing it would have been hard. And then those icky feelings could have been tied to his task work, and you don't want that either. So it's as they're confident, as they're ready, then you can start to introduce it as they're in public. As far as like basic skills they need, a good kind of test for that somebody can like go and do on their own. I like the CGC, Nacho's program. We do the CGC. They do all 3 levels of the CGC program.
So these are really good markers. The CGC sounds really good.
CGC, I like the CGC. I also like PDA, which is Pet Dog Ambassador. I like that one a little bit better because it tests more things, and it feels more like it tests more of the service doggy things that you would want. It's geared for pet dogs. It's through the Pet Professional Guild, but it's not as easily accessible as the CGC because it's newer. It's a newer program. Not as many people know about it. Not as many people can assess it. So it's harder to find people to do that. So I will send that to my clients too. And I will tell them, like, we're going to kind of go off of both of these and like work towards both of these. And I have a couple of friends who can assess for the CGC. So we usually assess for the CGC. And hopefully soon I will be able to assess for the PDA stuff. But finding somebody who can assess for that is much harder to do. So it's not as helpful from like a third party assessment perspective, but from like a training goals perspective, I think it's a much better thing to work towards. I like the exercises that they do.
What are some of the exercises for that?
So for the PDA program, they do things like getting in and out of the car safely. So open the door, they can wait, then they leave on cue, and then they sit or stay and don't like just bolt off as you get out of the car. Walking nicely on a leash, which the CGC also tests for. Greeting people, and this is why I like PDA a little bit better. PDA, you're allowed to say no thank you. You cannot greet my dog. The CGC, you have to get them to greet your dog. And as like a service dog handler, yes, I want my dog to be able to handle people petting them, but also I don't want them. I don't need them to be able to go up and greet people in that way. And I'm just kind of angry about that right now because I'm just like people too much.
Yeah, that's part of what we're dealing with is the excitement to meet anyone new is like I want to say to everyone, which I prefer than my old service dog I can use out in the world because he would eat anyone who got near me. So this is a much
Yes.
better problem to have, but it's still like, dude, you cannot suddenly pull on me. That does not work. I have a question for you, especially for people who are training their own service dogs, because especially when we go out into public to do our training, our health can, as you know, change drastically second to second. And we just had an experience where I dislocated my knee while I was training him outside and walking. How should you handle something like that with your dog is not trained yet? You can't just,
Mhm.
hope that they'll get you home, but you are now stuck in a situation where you are in danger. How should you handle that with your
Mhm.
dog? Or is there something you should teach them, like settle, so that they can like be still while you're trying to fix stuff? What's something that we can be doing for that? Is it's a
So
realistic thing that happened?
yeah. So that's something that I would want to discuss individually with all of my
Ah,
clients because
good point.
everybody's going to have very specific individual needs as far as what they're going, like what they can do, what they might not be able to do, what potential problems will pop up for them. But like baseline, how I would approach that just in general for disabled people with their service dogs is before your dog is ready, don't take them somewhere where you might get stuck. Taco, you
Mm.
can't eat that. Um, so like if, and I do this with my reactive dog clients too, but for a different reason because their dog's the one that needs the help more than the
Yep.
people. But just going somewhere in your car and working in the parking lot. So you're never more
Mm.
than like 10 feet from your car until you know that your dog is unlikely to have a challenge. So you can like start towards the back of the parking lot, work your way up closer to the store, work in front of the store, so then you're still pretty close to your car. And then once your dog is capable of doing the things without like pulling, lunging, getting distracted, start in the store, like just go inside the door of the store. And then like 10 feet into the store and just like slowly work your way as your dog is ready to do it. That's how you should be doing it anyway. That's realistically how
Mm.
you should be doing it anyway for their learning. Us humans are no, but you can't do that. Um, us humans are not good at being patient like that, so we want to go further faster. But for their learning and for your safety, if they have if they make a mistake and it's likely to cause you harm, and then you're not necessarily going to be able to leave once that happens, you want to be as close to your exit route as possible to be able to get out safely and quickly. So sticking closer to the car, sticking closer to the entrance so that you're not like in the back of a store and then have to make it all the way through the store and then all the way to your car in the parking lot. Another potential option is having another human with you. So somebody who can then take the dog while you do to put them in the car, then come back and rescue you. That's not always accessible to people, but if that's an option, that's a great option because then you can do a little bit more. You can test the dog a little bit more, put them in slightly more challenging situations because if something happens, you have an exit buddy who can help you get out safely.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. I cannot remember that. I would say just personally, I you shouldn't be doing this by yourself. Like if you are a disabled person with like physical disabilities where your health and your like POTS or Ehlers-Danlos, the ones I have where it's super fast, super intense, you do not want to do this without another person who's there and committed. There's been so many times I could have it would have been dangerous without.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that another person? Yeah. Another option is mobility aids, right? So even if you don't necessarily need a mobility aid that day, bring it with
Mm. That's been a little hard for me, and I'll take advantage of you being
you.
frozen by
Yeah.
phrasing this part here. Yeah, so I am supposed to use the wheelchair, but I've been using the walker and the cane. But because we were working on like walk with me and try to teach him really good
Mhm.
leash manners, I needed to have my hand free to be able
Mhm.
to like have that treat in front of his little nose to like, oh yay, we're gonna walk past like these three dogs. You pay attention to the street, and it's really hard to like correct and do that while safely using a mobility aid. What do you recommend on that?
There's you need to talk to it. There's so many ways to make it easier with mobility
Yeah.
aid.
Okay.
Yes. There's so many, and it's gonna be different for every mobility aid. But if say you use like a walker or something, if you
Yep.
can get access to a rollator, then you
Yep.
have a seat if you need a seat. If like you sometimes use a walker, sometimes use a wheelchair, I find a rollator is like a nice middle ground.
Yeah,
Um,
rollators are those should be like the first things people are
mhm.
handed. Like, oh my god, that's life changing. If anyone out there is like, I've been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, For the love of all that's unholy, go buy one of those. I had it in my head this was just for like, the cocoon, like that's
Yeah.
how old I am. That's my all person reference is cocoon. I just realized how old I sounded with that one. But like I was like, oh no, that's a step too far using a walker. Get the freaking walker. That
Yeah.
you can just sit down in front. Now they have one that's like an electronic wheelchair too. I want that so
Fancy.
bad. Yeah, I know. I got all through Scotland using a rollator. It is wonderful. And you're right, you can actually sit down when you start breaking things.
Yep. So that's a nice like kind of middle ground. But
Yeah.
if you are just in a wheelchair, like some people don't have the option, they're permanent
Yep.
wheelchair users. Hands-free leashes or leashes that can attach to your chair. They make leash attachments for wheelchairs. You go on like Etsy, and I'm sure there's some other places, but like there are disabled people who make them for other disabled people. But having a hands-free leash is going to be really important because you need your hands to work your wheelchair.
I mean, and also with
Um,
other stainless, if your dog suddenly decides like, oh, I want to see that stop sign, there's a shoulder gone.
yeah, yeah. But also teaching them pause up. So
Mm.
instead of, I need to keep moving to walk past this distraction, if the distraction is moving your way or going to pass by you, teach them to pause up onto like the armrest of the wheelchair or into your lap if
Oh.
that's safe. And then you can funnel them food without having to worry about moving a wheelchair and a dog past a distraction.
Thank you. You think you saved my arms. Oh my god, yes.
Like for a lot of people it's easier to just move past the distraction because then the distraction is gone much more quickly. But if you've got mobility issues or like on the behavior mod side, if you've got a reactive dog, sometimes that's too hard. And just being stationary and distracting them and kind of like turning them away. So if the distraction's coming this way, I would have my dog facing towards me and away from the distraction. So if somebody's going to pass on my left side, I would have them pop up on the left side of the chair and looking to the right side of the chair, and then vice versa.
Okay.
Or if they can go in your lap, having them come up in your lap in the middle, looking at you instead of what's going by them. That's
Oh my
more
god.
helpful. And then just funnel food into their face like the whole time. They just eat food the whole time. You will eventually need to work on more stuff with distractions, but once they are ready for that, it will be easier to do. And if they're not ready for it and it's going to hurt you, just don't deal with it until they're ready.
Yeah. I just cannot get over the cuteness over there. That is really good advice. So for this stage of, we all know what we need to get. We went over the things you need to have a puppy, a new baby. Now that we're entering a teenage phase, are there is the hands-free leash, which I've learned that I just like loop there because I'm cheap and I put the regular leash through my belt, and that's been working okay. If you need that as a, but you think that a different way is better?
Cautious with that. So I would get a second leash and put it across your body. So like clip the leash to the handle of the leash and then
Okay.
clip your second leash onto that so that
Okay.
you have one leash around your body and your other leash is clipped to that and away. Because
Oh, okay.
if it's wrapped around your waist and something
Uh-huh.
happens, you're going with your dog.
Oh,
And you have no way to get out of it. If it's a
good point.
crossbody, you can pop it over your head and it might be uncomfortable, but it's going to be much
Ooh.
safer. So
Okay,
I don't
that's
like
really
having,
good advice.
they do make waist belt leashes with quick releases on them.
Okay.
They tend to be much more expensive and you have to buy them specifically for that. If I were to put something around my waist, it would only be if there's a quick release possible. As a safety issue, especially
That's
for disabled
so
people.
smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need the quick release or the crossbody. What are some other things that we should be looking to have for, do you believe in like the clicker training? It's what are some of the things that we should be looking to have now that we don't need the potty pads anymore?
Oh, so clicker training is the whole thing. It's the whole way through. If you're going to use a clicker, you start that day. Pretty much just use a treat pouch and a regular leash and a collar. So I don't go too much into too many things. If you know you want to have a little extra certainty that your dog's not going to be able to hold you, starting to teach them a head halter, especially from a young age, is not a bad idea. I personally am not a huge fan of head halters. But as like from a disability perspective and from a safety perspective, sometimes having it there as a backup just in case just makes everybody feel so much safer. So like it will make it so that they can't pull as hard on you, but that process introducing it can take a while. So starting that sooner rather than later, if you know you're going to want to have that backup safety, that's a good option. But taking things slowly, right? So like when you hit the teenage stage, once you kind of get past that like little fear period bump, so when they hit the teenager stage, they are going to act like they have never learned a thing before in their life. Partially it's because their hormones are hitting, so they are perceiving the world differently, right? So what they saw one day now looks completely different because now their hormones are impacting how they're looking at things. So things that weren't interesting to them before are now very interesting. Like if some dog pees on the tree that you walk past, like as a little puppy, they might be a little interested in it, whatever. But you know, those hormones hit, and suddenly that girl pee smells really good to a boy dog, and vice versa, in a way that it didn't prior to those hormones hitting. So, what was something that was like a very mild or minor distraction that maybe you didn't train because it was a non issue now could become a much bigger problem, and it's going to look like the dog just forgot how to walk nicely on a leash. But it's because the hormones hit. Because now there's more interesting smells from other dogs that have walked by. And then their brain is also rewiring. So like as they're growing, as those hormones are hitting, their brain is physically rewiring. So some things that they learned, they might legitimately not remember that day. Treat them like you've never taught them anything. Well, meet them where they're at. So if you go out one day, you've got a teenager puppy, 9 months to like a year and a half, unfortunately. It's a long time. Year and a half, 2 years. From like 9 months old to about 1.5 to 2 years old, you're gonna have some adolescent stuff. It'll get easier the older they get. The worst of it is kind of like that 9 months to about 15 months. But until they're about 2 years old, especially for labs, they're not fully mature. So you're going to deal with some of the lack of maturity. But as you're working with them, meet them where they're at. So if like one day they're really good, they're able to walk on a nice loose leash, they're able to practice some of their task work, they can go into like a grocery store and do really well. Perfect. Lean into that, practice that, enjoy it.
That's parenting a toddler. This is what I'm hearing. Is it's parenting a toddler. Yay! I so missed doing that. I'm so glad I get to do this again. Yay! Okay, my last question then is fixing the dog something that 'cause, like when I first started like having dogs like back like 30 years ago is to fix them at 3 months old like the second you can. And now I'm hearing like that's what I'm hearing now is like this very different idea. Like, nope, wait till a year, wait till a year and a half. Does that change the behavior? Is this a healthier idea to wait so long? Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. Well, I am wishing you a lot of luck for your trip this Friday to go do a temperament test. You're getting two puppies. You're going to be training two at the same time. My goodness, I got you now because I don't know if we're going to get to talk again. That sounds. Are you getting them as like itty bitties? My goodness! Wow! 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 Okay, well, I am wishing you all the luck and all the caffeine that you get another nacho. I can't imagine. I here that would cause chaos. Oh no, never would they. At this face, can you imagine this face doing anything wrong ever? No. It used to be easy. I used to just pick him up and put him on my lap for snuggle time, and now it's like, nope, does not fit. All right, well, Tara, I can't thank you enough for your time, and hopefully I'll get to chat soon and see all the cute puppies on TikTok. You're gonna be filming this like test, right? Because I want to see it on TikTok. Energy saving right now, like that forced break from TikTok. I've had to do a TikTok diet, and that's helped significantly with mental health. At least you have cute dogs to like save the mental health and then destroy the mental health for other reasons. Very good. All right. Thank you so much, Tara. If you are interested in following Tara, TikTok is a great place to do that. You're also on YouTube, is that right? As I do, yeah. A website, right? Perfect. And we're going to have all those linked up on their show notes. So you can easily just follow Tara right from our show notes on invisiblenotbroken.com. Yay! All right. Well, thank you so much. Be kind, be gentle, and everyone be fierce, since there's never been a more important time to be doing that. Yay.